there are probably very few, if not any other spots in the world where you can call out a trick that Ray Barbee did in public domain in 1988. And then just on the other corner, you could cite Casper Brooker doing a blunt slide to kickflip out in the most recent Baker video, or Scott Johnson doing a front 180 switch crooks across the gap to ledge. Jaquan, or as it was originally known, Beneficial, is one of these spots that has miraculously lasted and remained relevant for almost 40 years. So we're now on Wilshire Boulevard between Serrano and Oxford, in front of a building that was originally built in 1967 as the headquarters for the Beneficial Life Insurance Company. And to give a sense of how close everything is in this stretch of Wilshire, we're 2 blocks away from the Wilshire 15. We're 2 blocks away from the handrails in front of St. Basil's and the rails across the street. We're 2 blocks away from the Pierce National Life Building, which was another building designed by Welton Beckett. That's that building with the red ground with the gray ledges that Jaron and Kareem skate. And this is part of this whole much larger corporatization of this part of Wilshire. Wilshire had once been a strip of elegant hotels and fancy apartment buildings, and the mansion where Sunset Boulevard was filmed, for example, that film noir movie, was actually on Wilshire Boulevard. That was torn down to make way for office towers like this. Unlike a lot of the other buildings that you see on Wilshire, however, Beneficial was actually set 315 feet back into the lot. And the reason why these 2 big granite plinths at either corner along Wilshire are here is for signage. Many of these buildings have like the Pierce National Life Company or Wilshire Park Place now on the top of the buildings. There were billboards, like, flashing signs. It was signs everywhere. So because this building was set so far back into the lot, you needed these plinths to display signage. And if you look at old videos, you can see the numerous different companies that have occupied this building as tenants, whether it was Jaquan Orthodontics or First National Banks, or maybe even Beneficial Life Insurance. Signage matters if you're an automobile-oriented city, as Los Angeles is. The building itself is designed by the architectural firm Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. They also did the Alcoa building in San Francisco that faces Hubba Hideout. And for this job, they hired the head of the San Francisco office, a man named Edward Charles Bassett, and the head of the New York office, a man named Gordon Bunshaft, to work together on the Beneficial Life Insurance building. Now, what's really interesting is you see components of other buildings that they have done in this building itself. So Bunshaft is probably best known for the Beinecke Rare Book Library at Yale University. And that building, if you're familiar, has these slanted pyramidal piers at each corner that function as like really steep quarter pipes. He also designed the Solo building on 57th Street and the Grace building also in Manhattan. That Solo building is where Jake Johnson does the switch wall ride on that white travertine wall at the base of the building. Now, weirdly, Edward Bassett also designed the Tenneco building in Houston, Texas, which had not only a row of pink granite ledges on the outside, but underneath the overhang of the building, you had these pink granite quarter pipes that went up the wall. So in other words, the Beneficial Life Insurance Company ended up inadvertently hiring the 2 architects most responsible for natural quarter pipes on either side of the country to work together on this building in Los Angeles. Almost everyone remembers Guy Mariano's frontside ollie on one of the little pier-like columns and then board sliding the rail at the end of his Video Days part, or most recently, Jim Greco's mind-blowing backside 360 ollie. So these steep pier-like quarter pipes lead the eye upward to this gridded matrix of a honeycomb-like row of windows that rises 11 stories up the front of the building. It's a steel-framed building with a shocked concrete exoskeleton that helps to support the internal core weight of the building. The plaza itself is this alternating pattern of pink, gray, and darker gray granite. But what's really interesting about this plaza is that now this is what most people think of when they think of Jaquan. But at the time when this was still beneficial, nobody skated this plaza. One of the reasons why those two plinths, the gap to ledges on either end, got so much love is because that was where you could skate without getting busted. And in the 90s, which is primarily when most people were skating this as a destination spot, you gotta remember that people were skating picnic tables. People were skating higher and higher ledges, so that the appeal of this spot was really the gap to ledge. Gabriel Rodriguez probably had the first photo sequence doing a gap to lip slide in a 101 ad. And I was so blown away when I saw that footage of Gabriel Rodriguez's Sponsor Me video where he's doing double flips and half cab flips on the sidewalk in front of that ledge. He also front boards that ledge. Fabian Alomar 50/50s and front boards that rail. Ricky Iola, of all people, someone who we associate so closely with Philadelphia. Ricky Iola films half of his Z-roller part at this spot. So from the very beginning, what I think is so great about this spot is that it really is this East Coast-like plaza, and in a weird way, an East Coast-like building, partially designed by Gordon Bunshaft, set within this natural park-like setting that couldn't be anywhere else but Los Angeles. So when you think about the best tricks that have been done here, Gino Iannucci's backtail, all of the tricks that the Menace team did, from frontside crook, switch frontside tail. It is really a combination of East Coast skaters and West Coast skaters defining what you can do at this spot, and it's been like that from day one. It's amazing when you really think about it. As long as people have had video cameras, and as long as people have been filming skateboarding with those video cameras, there has been footage of people skateboarding at this spot. Either Duck or John, in Duck and John's part in Rubbish Heap, which is from 1988, one of them ollies that gap. Gabriel Rodriguez switch frontside 180s that gap in the chocolate video. I love this clip of Henry Sanchez at night doing a switch flip to switch crook on the white painted ledge on the corner of Wilshire and Serrano. That's insane, especially for that time, 1994. And I love that era of when Josh Kalis and Stevie, after Love Park had already been bulldozed and demolished, they would come and skate here on Sundays. So there's this whole new wave of skaters skating in urban plaza, which is not something that we would normally associate with Los Angeles, happening here. And again, it's that idea of fusion, that idea of someone coming from somewhere else and bringing their background and what they like about skateboarding and applying it to a place like this. And when you consider how rapidly spots come and go, particularly historic spots where things have been done, it is a miracle that a spot like this, that has literally been at the center of the spotlight in skateboarding for almost 40 years, has somehow managed to endure. Part of that speaks to the quality of the materials used. When are you ever not gonna wanna skate on perfect granite paving stones? And also, if you're a handrail skater, when are you ever not going to wanna skate a perfect square metal 7-stair rail that just happens to be a perfect square metal 7-stair rail that Ray Barbie frontside board slid in 1988. I mean, this spot quite literally has everything that a street skater would want to skate, from a gap to ledge, to perfect flat ground, to weird, wonky, harsh, serrated, gnarly quarter pipes leading up the front of the building, to a whole row of square planter-style ledges in dense granite. I mean, this is the perfect materials for skateboarding in one of the most unusually iconic settings along Wilshire Boulevard. And that's probably one of the reasons why this remains and probably will continue to be one of the destinations for any skateboarder visiting Los Angeles.